Good evening, folks. On today's video, we're going to be deep diving the alien interview tape 1997. Now, for me, this tape is real. I'm not going to change my mind on it. I first came across this tape in 1999. I'd have been about 13 and a half, 14. And I've always been fascinated with it. I'm 39, nearly 40 now, and I'm still fascinated with it. And I still believe to this day, this is either one, a real alien interview, or two, it's a military staged fake that was put out there for disinformation. And I'll get to that later on in the video, why I think if it is fake, it is that. So let's get straight into it and get to the... Let me share this with you guys.
Disinformation, designed to discredit any elements of truth that may be reaching the public.
If so, how does Victor fit into the jigsaw puzzle of questionable witnesses to the alien presence at Area 51? Is he a hoaxer, a government dupe, or a frightened whistleblower with the hard evidence to back up his story?
I made it very clear to Victor that his credibility was the entire issue here, and that everybody's going to think this is a hoax, and that how are they going to possibly verify this? What he said was, you can do anything you want in terms of verify it. Any type of due diligence, he will answer whatever questions put forward. We could do whatever type of checking. We could bring in experts. We could have the tape tested. We could, in fact, he encouraged all of these aspects. He just did not want his face and his real name revealed.
At Coleman's insistence, Victor agreed reluctantly to appear on camera, but only in disguise, in shadow, and with his voice electronically altered. The questions were agreed upon in advance, but during the actual interview, the discussion occasionally deviated from Victor's approved questions.
What is your occupation at Area 51?
I won't answer that. I have had reason to be present at Area 51. But I'm not going to clarify whether or not I was there as an employee.
Are you saying you were there as a visitor?
I'm not going to specify why or in what capacity I was there. Only
I'm going to go into it in a bit, who I think this man is. So stay tuned for that.
that I was there.
Can you tell us how many times you were there?
When I agreed to this, my fundamental ground rule was that I would not be asked to divulge personal data that might help pinpoint my identity. If you continue to ask questions that are out of bounds, I won't hesitate to terminate this interview.
Are you saying that the number of times you were present at Area 51 is enough to pinpoint your identity?
Any specifics will narrow the field of suspects. Of course, I could lie. Let's say I've been there 47 times, or anyway more than once.
Let's turn to the tape itself. The copy you've supplied is not the original tape.
No,
Was the original at Area 51 when you copied it?
that's out of bounds.
Is it fair to assume that the copying of tapes at Area 51 is heavily restricted?
You can assume anything you like. I would say that's a fair assumption. That's obvious.
Cheers for that, Elaine. El Marino, I'll have a look into that.
I will say that this tape was copied under special circumstances. Otherwise, copying it would have been impossible.
Can you be more specific?
More specific? Okay, I'm sure they figured this much out already. Recently, there was a wholesale transfer of video documentation from analog tape to digital disk storage. In a couple of instances, this allowed data to leak from a high security system to a less high security system. Even so, this particular tape was the only... I think that's about all I'll say about that.
Was there something about this particular clip that made it more accessible to be copied?
Not necessarily, no.
Was there something about the content that caused them to file it differently or give it special handling?
This interview was terminated.
The interview resumed only after a discussion of the ground rules.
Have you personally seen the alien being that appears in the tape?
Yes, I have, but I stress I was not necessarily present at the interview session that appears on the tape. I'm not going to be specific. I may have encountered the being at another time.
What can you tell us about the alien interview we're about to see?
This one is rather recent, very late in the series. The interview process has been ongoing since the being arrived.
What do people think about this tape anyway? Has anyone seen this
Twice a
before?
month, they sit it down
Have you
for a
not seen
session
this
that
before? Let
generally
me know in the
lasts from
comments.
3 to 5 hours. If they try to go longer than that, or if they schedule the sessions more frequently, the being becomes unresponsive. There's a fair amount of infighting among the scientists from different disciplines to get their questions asked.
What is the alien revealed?
Various minor technical details of the saucers. The physicists and engineers are frankly frustrated. They feel the being is withholding information. Possibly concepts are getting lost because all the information has to come through a telepath. But also it may be that the bulk of their scientific knowledge is just too advanced to be translated into our primitive conceptual framework. It's analogous to if a human scientist were to try to translate quantum mechanics into the grunts and screeches of a chimpanzee.
That's not a very flattering comparison.
Frankly, there's a high attrition rate for scientists in the program. You'd think they'd be energized by the challenge, but a lot of them take the ego deflation very hard when they find out not only how much they don't know, but how much they aren't even capable of understanding.
What else has the alien communicated?
Oddly enough, the being seems to have a much easier time communicating spiritual concepts.
The human body is a vehicle, a vessel. The vessel must be maintained to serve the spirit with maximum efficiency. But a broken vessel can be replaced. Human spirit.
I love this sort of conspiracy theory that we are just vessels and we're just experiencing something here and we've got some greater purpose. I so hope to God that we have. I so hope there's something else out there.
Oh, the soul can have many vessels.
Is the process natural or technological?
Both are one. Technology is a natural excrescence of humanity. Technology is a process the vessel uses to perfect itself.
So this transference of the soul from vessel to vessel, did your kind create the mechanics of it, or is it a natural? Did it predate the intellectual creation?
Before understanding must come acceptance.
And it's not technological.
Well, I think what he's trying to say is that the question is meaningless. The soul can travel from vessel to vessel. Reincarnation.
Yeah, you're on about, Chris, you're on about Jon Stewart, and we have interviewed Jon Stewart, and I will be sharing a clip of that later on in this video. Just to update people as well, my first interview on YouTube is looking like it's going to be Professor Simon Holland, who reached out to me today and was wanting to do the interview today, but I couldn't do it today, so I'm hoping I can get it recorded. Potentially it might be live. If not, it'll be recorded and it'll be up on my YouTube in the next week or two.
Transfiguration, whatever. It's real.
What I'm getting at is, does he know how it's done?
Victor uses the term vessels to refer to the alien's conception of the body as a disposable vehicle for the soul. The UFO cult known as Heaven's Gate used the term containers in a similar context. The mass suicide of the Heaven's Gate cultists illustrates the dark side of accepting such ideas at face value. Doe, the Heaven's Gate cult leader, preached that humans can pass from container to container. The mysterious Victor, on the other hand, harbors no such belief. In his interview, recorded months before the Rancho Santa Fe tragedy, Victor made his attachment to his own earthly vessel abundantly clear.
And let me just state here publicly, to head off any clever ideas anyone might be having, I have never been, am not now, and never will be suicidal.
You would think, wouldn't you, in this day and age, that there'd be a way, that there'd be an app or something that'd be able to get rid of this silhouette, and you'd be able to see exactly who's behind it, right?
But how would the public know if something happened to you since we don't know who you are?
I'm taking care of that. Trust me. If something happens to me, if I die, people will know who I am.
Do you think it's a reassuring sign that these aliens can communicate with us on a spiritual plane?
It would be nice to think so, but I'm not sure if it's really such an achievement considering the mismatch between our intellects. I mean, you're not going to have much luck making your dog understand calculus. But if you pet him on the head and say, "Good dog," aren't you communicating spiritually? And doesn't the animal control officer say, "Good dog," when he comes to put some poor stray to sleep? Doesn't the vet try to reassure the animal just before he spays it? When you're dealing with beings whose intellect is so far beyond your own, I don't think it's safe to assume they have your best interests at heart.
What about the content of the tape segment you brought?
As I said, this is late in the series. In fact, it's quite close to the end.
Because of his unwillingness to
So we're going to get to the tape now where it shows the alien. So keep it. I think we're getting that. Yeah, it's here now.
reveal his own identity, Victor's story stands
Welcome
or
in,
falls
Taz.
on the credibility of the tape he supplied.
We're just going through a deep dive on the alien interview tape 1997, and I will get to who I believe potentially Victor is.
Here, exclusively for the first time anywhere, is the uncut, uninterrupted alien interview tape, shown in its entirety in real time.
I do apologise about that comment there. I've removed it. I think the scariest thing would probably be his potentially his mother. What feelings are you getting from this, just looking at this now? Welcome in, James. You see its body here, you see it. See if I can pause it a bit better. This is something so real about this. I've not changed my opinion on it from 1999 to now.
You removed the soundtrack from the tape before you turned it over to this program.
That's correct. I can't allow the voices of the project personnel to be heard by the general public. There's a very good chance their family or friends on the outside might recognize them.
Isn't your purpose in releasing this tape to expose Area 51 to the world?
My purpose is to expose the existence of the aliens, not compromise these individuals. I made the decision to come forward. I'm taking precautions to protect my own identity, and I don't think it's fair for me to put these others in danger of exposure. In any case, the interview on the tape went nowhere. It was interrupted, as you'll see.
Can you describe for us what we're seeing?
All right,
So it doesn't say this here, but we now know, thanks to John Stewart, that this green little flashy thing here, which you see here,
looking at the interview suite at S4.
That's a communication device. So that's how they were communicating with it, through something there. And we went into this with the interview that we had with him. I've seen it so many times, gets me every time. It is. I don't get upset about it, but if it's real, yeah, there's some sadness to it for sure. So yeah, now we know this is a communication device. The DNI is Department of Naval Intelligence, and I'm guessing that's level clearance 27.
It's kept dark for the comfort of the aliens. The figure who is just there.
And I'm assuming that's 4 o'clock in the morning. This was being recorded. Never actually checked that before. 4 o'clock in the morning is a bit of a weird time, even if it's a fake. Why this time?
Barely visible in the left foreground is the telepath, and behind the camera is a raked seating area for observers. Although in this case, I believe the only other person present was a military aide. The alien is seated behind a glass partition in a biocontainment area, which is maintained at Biosafety Level 2, the lowest designation. That's primarily for the protection of the aliens, not us. The theory is that if they were going to infect us with an alien bug, it would have happened 50 years ago. In fact, all the indications are the aliens eliminated microbial and viral life from their own ecosystem long ago. They aren't susceptible to our diseases directly, but it has been shown that microbes can reproduce and form colonies within their respiratory systems, which tends to exacerbate the debilities they seem to suffer anyway in our environment. In fact, you can see here the aliens beginning to flag. The interview was not going well. The telepath was trying to clarify some points from a previous interview, but he wasn't.
That's a good point. You just put it's probably the tape time. So are you suggesting that this tape's been running for 4 hours? Is that 4 hours? Am I reading this wrong here? Let me just press play.
Receiving coherent responses. As you can see, the being is in real distress.
So there could be a lot longer before this. This is like only a segment of it. He did say that. Maybe this is part of a 4-hour interview. I don't know.
At this point, the telepath is sending out a message.
If that's 4 hours of filming time, that's interesting. That could be 4 hours of continuous interview of this guy here, or it could be a multitude of different interviews all put together on tape. Most likely, it'll be a different interviews on different tapes, maybe. But he did say this is just a small segment of it, and it comes towards the end of a series of interviews that he went through.
Message to the medical staff. He's trying to communicate with the alien, but he's getting no response. There's very little he can do. There's no direct connection between his space and the biocontainment area. That's the aide stepping in on the right. The medical staff should be there by now.
Yeah, that's a long time if it is 4 hours.
There they are. I have to say the medical personnel at S4 are less than first rate. They tend to be selected for their willingness to keep secrets rather than their medical competence. By the way, he's not shining that light into the eyes. It looks that way, but in fact, he's checking for hemorrhaging around the eye sockets and in the nasal cavity. I'm sorry. It's very hard for me to watch this.
So I'm going to skip over in a minute. I'm going to go to the people that tried to debunk this. So I'm going to skip. So it's nearly finished there anyway. Go to.
You're asking me if I
Let's
think
see
this
what
is real?
Robert Dean said.
Have I finally
Seen first-hand evidence of it to view the tape and offer his expert opinion.
Treating him like a piece of livestock, wiping his lips.
Calling on his own first-hand experience for comparison, Robert Dean was stunned and moved by what he saw.
That breaks my heart. I think you've got yourself a piece of legitimate footage here, and I think you've got your hands on some pretty sensitive material. I don't know how the hell you got this. I don't know who you got it from, and frankly, I don't want to know who you got it from. But you got yourself a tiger by the tail with this footage. I would say, and I know that that's one of the things you ask of me, is that you've got yourself some legitimate footage of one of the little guys being interrogated, filmed. And there's a reality to it, and there's a sensitivity to it that literally breaks my heart. But I tell you very strongly, you've got something here that is very sensitive. Well, I know that the level of classification on this kind of a thing is so far damned above top secret that you won't even
Majestical hair.
imagine how sensitive this kind of thing is, and how delicate it is, and how tightly the government sits on anything like this.
Sean Morton looked for clues to the tape's authenticity in the technical details of the interview setting.
Now, I did reach out to this guy last year, and he replied back to me, but he was dying. He has now passed away. He was really ill, terminally ill. He was fighting cancer for a few years, and I didn't know when I emailed him. It was so good of him to reply to me. He did not look like this. He just looked totally different because of his illness. So rest in peace, Sean David Martin. I'm going to skip this part. I'm going to go to the part where the two Hollywood puppeteer makers speak. Let's get to that bit.
Makeup artist John Criswell has provided special effects creatures for many Hollywood motion pictures and television shows, such as Spaced Invaders and Babylon 5. Hired by Rocket Pictures to create the aliens for the recreation segments of this program, Criswell was very interested to finally see the real thing.
By Hollywood standards, I would say it's a pretty decent puppet. Well, to be honest with you, I would love to buy this being real, but it's probably a hoax. Well, I think this is a really cool design, and it's a great concept, but I think I could have done better. Whoever did this, I mean, they could have a job in Hollywood in a minute, no problem. This one has a much creepier quality than the alien autopsy tape, I think. That one I definitely didn't buy just because of the way it laid on the table. There was a couple of things. This actually, whoever did this was, or if someone did this, they were very clever because it hides a lot of stuff. So that's what makes me kind of disbelieve it a little bit. But, who knows?
Criswell thought the alien exhibited movements that would be difficult to fake.
There are moments when this looks very real, and I don't know how they did certain little things about this. So right when I would say that it's definitely a puppet, he moves a certain way, or he'll lift up in the frame and all that, and all these little things are important to the to the character.
Academy Award winner Rick Baker is one of Hollywood's reigning masters of...
So that's one of him, and he was undecided He said it exhibited movements that would be hard to fake. So I'd say he's unsure. This guy, however, he was adamant it was a fake.
Makeup effects. He transformed Eddie Murphy into a 300-pound man for the Nutty Professor and has created monsters for countless films,
No, this was shot in the 80s and released in 97. We'll get to that.
Including An American Werewolf in London and the UFO-related Men in Black. Baker dismissed the tape as a fake.
Yeah, this doesn't fool me. I don't buy this. I think this is a puppet, and you've got a table in the foreground that's hiding the rest of its body. You've got some kind of whatever that instrument is in the foreground. It's also lit very mysteriously. I think if you were going to record this alien, you would want to see it, and you wouldn't want to hide it behind a table, and you would light it in a way that would show up much more than this. And this particular movement, this head jerking movement here especially, looks very puppety to me. It looks a little overdone and very much like a guy with his hand inside this thing maneuvering it. I guess he's supposed to be ill here. Is that what's going on? It just looks like they went to a great deal of effort to hide as much of the anatomy other than the head on this puppet, and I just don't buy it. I would be willing to stake my reputation on the fact that I think this is a hoax. It's very interesting to see them.
In Baker's opinion, there was no controversy at all.
Yeah, what does he know? What does he know? Although he's a puppet maker. So I'm going to go to this here. So this is a letter. Let's see if I can make this bigger for you. Just give me a second, folks. So this is from 1987. And it's John Lear writing to his friend Cos Stephen. I want to skip to, I think it's this part here. Before the grand deception was discovered, and according to the meticulous plan of metered release of information to the public, several documentaries and videotapes were made. William Moore, who I'll show you in a minute, a Burbank, California-based UFO researcher, came into possession of a videotape through his contacts with MJ12, who had taken a great interest in Mr. Moore's book, The Roswell Incident, published in 1980. That's a brilliant book, by the way. The book detailed the crash, recovery, and subsequent cover-up of a UFO with 4 alien bodies. They decided to use Moore as one of several conduits to help in the gradual release of the existence of aliens to the public. The video Mr. Moore had was an interview by 2 well-known newsmen of a military officer associated with MJ12. In the interview, the military officer answers questions relating to the history of MJ12 and the cover-up, the recovery of a number of flying saucers, the existence of a live alien, one of 3 living aliens designated or named EBE-1, EBE-2, and EBE-3, being held in a facility designed as YY2-2 at Los Alamos, New Mexico. The only other facility of this type is the Edwards Air Force Base in Mojave, California. The officer named names as previously mentioned, plus a few others: Harold Brown, Richard Helms, Jen Vernon Walters, and Von Carmen. So let's scroll down a bit to this bit. The EBEs have some sort of recording device that has recorded all of the Earth's history and can display it in the form of a hologram. How insane is that? This hologram can be filmed, but because of the way holograms work, it does not come out clearly. The crucifixion of Christ on the Mount of Olives has allegedly been put on film to show to the public. That's insane. Imagine if that's true. Imagine if that's true. The EBEs claim to have created Christ in view of the grand deception could be an effort to disrupt traditional values for undetermined reasons. Yeah, I do believe they put the religious aspect on this planet. Here we go here. Another videotape alleged to be in existence is an interview with an EBE. Since EBEs communicate telepathically, an Air Force colonel serves as an interpreter just before the recent stock market crash. Now, bear in mind, this is 1987. This is 10 years before the release of the alien tape that I've just shown you. on air for blah, blah, blah. Just before the recent stock market crash, several newsmen, including Bill Moore, had been invited to Los Alamos to personally film and distribute to the public a similar tape interview. Apparently, because of the market crash, it was felt that the timing was not propitious. Moore is also in possession of more Aquarius documents, the first few pages of which leaked out several years ago and detailed a super-secret NSA project, which has been denied by them until just recently. The Aquarius project was the communication with aliens, specifically with EBEs, within the Aquarius project. Was Project Snowbird a project to test fly a recovered alien aircraft at Groom Lake, Nevada? Moore feels that MJ-12 has been stringing him along, promising to go public with some of the information on the extraterrestrials for too long. We'll get to a very rare interview with Bill Moore in a minute, where he actually gets booed off the stage because he admits that he was, well, I'll just show you. Long time. He has made the decision that if MJ-12 does not come forward with the information and release it publicly by the end of 1987, then he, Moore, will go with what he's got, i.e. the videotapes, remainder of the Aquarius documents, and additional matter. Certain of Moore's statements leads one to believe that Moore himself is a government agent working for MJ-12, which is true, and he admitted to that in 1989. And I'm going to share that in a minute. Moore states emphatically that he is not a government agent, although when Les Graham, a Southern California-based ufologist, was investigated by the DIS for documents in his possession received from Moore, Moore himself was not. Right, let's see if I can get more to this tape here. The grand evidence taken into consideration the grand deception and obvious hostile intentions of the EBEs, it might be expedient for MJ-12 to admit to EBEs but conceal information of the mutilations and abductions. So this is going into the sort of the Greeter Treaty, where they made a pact that they can take some human beings and stuff like that for exchange for technology. More human beings were being taken. The lists weren't being handed over to MJ-12. And they lost control of what was actually going on here, and they was going to come out in the open and say, we've done something terrible here, and they decided not to. If Moore was indeed working as an agent for MJ-12, he would follow the party line anyway, poo-pooing the mutilations and abductions. If, however, Moore does not release the tape by, say, February the 1st, but comes instead with a story similar to MJ-12 has informed me they are definitely planning a total release of all information by October 1988. I have seen the plan, and I've seen the guarantees that this will happen, so I've decided to withhold the issuance of my videotape at this time, as it may cause problems. This would, in effect, buy more time for MJ-12, and time is what they desperately need. The rest of us have to wonder what the big picture is. Anyway, are the EBs, having done 100,000 or more abductions and built an untold number of underground bases, Groom Lake, Sunspot, Datil, Pie Town, Northern Nevada, Roswell, just to name a few alien underground bases? Make sure you go and research those places, people. Right, so 3 types of EBs. 3 to 3.5 foot tall, large heads, large slanted eyes, worship technology, don't give a damn about mankind. Grade 2, same type, different finger arrangement, slightly different face, more sophisticated than Grey 1. Use common sense, passive, may not need secretions. Grey 3, same basic type, lips thinner, more subservient to other 2 greys. Then you've got the blonde, Swedes, and Nordics. And it goes into all them there. But I'm going to play a bit of this clip now from the MUFON. The link for this, by the way, will be in the description so you can read the full letter. So this is... Let's have a look.
Before I begin, it seems appropriate to first take a few moments to personally thank Mr. Walt Andrus of the MUFON organization and the organizers and hosts of this symposium.
This is who I believe Victor is, by the way. Can you see the similarity?
Whose kind invitation made it possible for me to be here. I'm also appreciative of this excellent time spot, which must mean that those who arrange the schedule must think that I have something to say. I'll try not to disappoint you. I might also add that my talk here tonight is primarily directed at those of you who are members of the UFO community. That's not to suggest that those of you who are here as third parties won't find it interesting. It's just that you might not be able to follow some of the in-house comments I'm going to make. And that's opposed to outhouse comments, which I'll try to avoid, even though some cases they may be appropriate. Having anticipated the faltering star, allow me to introduce myself. I'm aware that you already know my name, and I'm equally certain that many of you are wondering just who is Bill Moore and what's he up to. Added to that, I'm sure, are many other questions. Is this man a government agent? What about his rumored contacts within the intelligence community? Are the MJ-12 documents real? Or are they counterfeit? And if they're counterfeit, did he forge them? And isn't he really in it for the money, after all? The truth about Bill Moore, I'm afraid, is considerably less sensational. Those of you out there that know me well can vouch for it. Those who don't can verify it easily enough. Bill Moore graduated from college in 1965. During that time, and others in the UFO community who saw fit to jump to hasty conclusions, inappropriately formed.
I'm just trying to skip to the part where he admits to basically being working for MJ-12 and not doing good things, and then coming out.
To your knowledge of the UFO phenomenon, UFO bashers. Smith and Jones scenario, however, hesitated before passing judgment. In any case, by mid-1982, Paul's story contained virtually all of the elements found in the current crop of rumors being circulated to call his credibility into question. When the filmmaker appeared on the scene, and it looked as if Paul's story might become part of the script, the counterintelligence people simply extended their disinformation activities accordingly. Part of this game involved a meeting between the cattle mutilation researcher in question, Agent Richard Doty, and others at the AFOSI office at Kirtland Air Force Base, wherein the researcher subsequently claimed to have been allowed to view certain purportedly sensitive documents.
When we spoke to Richard Doty, I asked him about Bill Moore, and he was a bit like, oh, he worked for a different agency. He didn't really want to go into any information about Bill Moore. Nobody likes it. He wasn't seen much after this. In fact, I don't think at all. Maybe once, maybe twice more, that was it. It definitely wasn't seen after 1997 either. I know that for a fact.
About the government's alleged involvement with UFOs. Part of this material included information about an alleged UFO crash retrieval at Aztec. Richard Doty, who's bound by a security oath, cannot, and I am told will not, discuss this matter, except to say that he broke no laws and gave away no secrets that day. That, insofar as I'm aware, is entirely correct. I, on the other hand, was never required to sign a security oath, and am therefore breaking no laws when I tell you quite candidly that the information which changed hands on that day was directly descended from the discussion Doty and I had had only a few months earlier. I can also tell you that it was a very effective deception, because the researcher involved continues to believe this information and actively continues to try to convince others of its truth even now, more than 6 years after.
Honestly, you need to watch this. This is 5 hours long, by the way. Obviously, I'm not going to watch all of it there. You need to watch it because he's exposing the deception that they put people through, Richard Doty and the likes of it, and how people are falling for it. And he's basically said, look, it's not true, that it's deception. He was part of it. He thought he was going to get something out of it. That's why he went along with it. They basically pulled his pants down, didn't give him what he wanted, and he went against them. And he got booed off the stage. I was trying to look for the clip of it off here. It's also got Bill Cooper on here. Yeah, Bill Cooper. Oh, I forgot his name. He's another interesting guy as well. It's this well worth a watch, people. MUFON 1989 conference. I'm going to leave that one there, and I'm going to go to this John Lear interview here.
The government has been telling us for years that they're not real. They're weather balloons, or swamp gas, or reflections from the sun, or the ravings of lunatics. But serious UFO researchers say a breakthrough may be very close. Some of the government scientists who work...
Is that volume too low?
Really interested this about 2 years ago. My father saw a UFO and my brother did, and they were very interested, but there was really no...
Monday CRM has the best AI features in the game.
Especially in sales.
Hands down.
So for me, email composition work.
Proof, as far as I was concerned, to really look into it until about 2 years ago.
Your father and brother saw them. Can you give details?
My brother saw one. He was flying a P-38 from Phoenix to Los Angeles at night. It just appeared in front of him. He made two turns, 90-degree turns. It stayed in front of him and then disappeared. And my father was flying at night, I believe, over the Arizona desert, and saw one too.
So you got an interest because of the other members of your family. How did you start out?
I had an interest, but...
Is it just me, like people in the UK, you'll know who Jeremy Beadle is? Don't George Knapp, a young George Knapp here, look like Jeremy Beadle?
There was really nothing I could put my finger on. And like I say, 2 years ago, a friend of mine came through town. We had flown in Southeast Asia together, and he was retiring from the Air Force. He came over, and we started talking about where he had been for the last 15 years. And he mentioned that he had been stationed at Bentwaters. And I said, oh, Bentwaters, that's where the flying saucer supposedly was in 1980. He said, no, John, not supposedly, it was. He said, I don't care if you believe me or not. It landed. I didn't see it because we were confined to quarters, but I know people who did, and I'll give you the names. And if you ever see them, tell them you know me, and they'll tell you the whole story. Since then, I ran into one of the security police who was within 10 feet of the saucer and actually saw the 3 aliens get out and go up to General Gordon Williams, who was the wing commander at that time.
Now, there was quite a bit of documentation regarding this Bentwater incident. Why don't you go into that a little bit?
There's the Colonel Halt memo that came out under the Freedom of Information Act, and it told about the mysterious lights and beaming down and everything that happened in the forest except the actual alien landings. That wasn't in the memo. And there was also...
I'll see if I can skip to the part where he speaks about the alien interview tape.
To 1980 when she made the document.
Well, if we...
as being extremely strong. Now, I'm not making this up. This is an Air Force says about the... This leads us to believe in the unpleasant possibilities group are described as being extremely strong. Now, I'm not making this up. This is an Air Force. You can pick out an Air Force physics book and read this stuff. And at the end...
That image he shows, like Alistair Crowley's, remember the lamb? The demonic thing, it scares you a little bit, that, doesn't it? Maybe we're being lied to. Maybe it's something demonic.
The chapter, they go on to say, this leads us to believe in the unpleasant possibility of alien visitors to our planet, or at least of alien-controlled UFOs. Now, the picture that we have of the big head that the Air Force describes, this picture was
looks
drawn
just
by
like Lamb.
an Army surgeon. These are one of the bodies that was...
Let me get the... Do you think similar to that? Yeah.
Was recovered in the famous Roswell incident of 1947.
Tell us about that.
It was the first flying saucer that crashed and was recovered by the Army. It was covered up. There has been several books about it. They recovered 4 beings, and one of the surgeons that was responsible for the autopsy drew that picture and came up with some of these interesting things in the autopsy. I'll just read a couple. 3.5 to 4.5 feet tall, 2 round eyes without pupils, no earlobes, nose is vague, neck described as being thin, arms is described long and thin, reaching down to the knee section. You can see that there's a web portion in the hands, no teeth, no apparent reproductive organs, brain capacity unknown, colorless liquid prevalent in the body without red cells, no lymphocytes. And there's more in that particular report.
This is an autopsy report. And you said the government goes to great lengths, the Air Force in particular, to discredit this kind of stuff. Where did this come from? How did you get this?
That came in a private, that came from the private collection of Leonard Stringfield, who was one of the premier researchers. He worked for the Air Force in the early 50s in a secret project reporting UFOs. Then as a civilian, he continued his private research, and this is out of his collection.
Why does the government want to hide this? Why doesn't the Air Force just come forward? Why doesn't, why don't they level with us if this is all true?
Well, there's not really much they could say based on what I've been able to find out. George, they're really, what could they say about it? They've been researching it for many, many years, and based on my information, let's say that the president decided to make an announcement. This is, if he made it today, this is what I think that he would say. My fellow Americans, I come to you before you tonight with an announcement of great importance. Despite all our denials, flying saucers do in fact exist. Where they come from, we do not know. Who is in them, we do not know. Where they are from, we do not know, nor do we know how they got here or what they want. We are unable to duplicate any of the metals found on the several craft we have recovered, nor are we able to figure out how they are propelled. We have hidden these facts from you over the past 40 years in hopes that we could give you more answers. Unfortunately, we are no closer to answers today than we were 40 years ago.
Just want to say as well that this was George Knapp's introduction into the UFO topic. That's why when he's asking these questions, he has a bit of a smirk on his face, like he doesn't believe him. He became John Lee's biggest advocate after this interview and went down the rabbit hole, and he's still in the rabbit hole to this date. His life changed forever after this interview.
God bless you all.
In other words, you find it highly unlikely that the president would ever make a statement, anything like that.
No, it's just, it's too big. It's the problem is not only just the fact that there are five and as many as 10 different civilizations visiting us. Apparently, and this is from the research that I've done, at least 90% of them are hostile. And when I say hostile, if not hostile, they have a completely different set of morals than we do.
Okay, I'll tell you what, we're going to come back to the president and aliens because there have been some statements made by presidents, including President Reagan, president might say about UFOs. Do you believe that various presidents have been informed about what you believe to be the truth on UFOs?
Each president has been informed up to and including President Reagan. I'm not sure to the extent they are informed. Privately, I don't believe they are giving the full briefing. The people that control this information is
Let me see if I can find this bit where it talks about the alien tape.
1985. We'd forget forget how much.
What did he mean by this alien force? I mean, does it say? Does he go on to say something?
Yeah, it's pretty far out for the president of the United States. I'm president on these people to cover this stuff, and that's been born and for hundreds of thousands of years not doing.
You mentioned a couple of minutes ago before the break that you think 90% of these visitors are hostile. What makes you think that?
Well,
doesn't fit with what we think of as ET, you know?
We, if you read some of these books that are on the newsstands, one is called Intruders, one is called Communion. They apparently come down, and when I say apparently, this is taken from 300 hypnosis cases. A friend of mine has done 140 of them. And the people are abducted. They're taken up into a saucer, usually lasts about an hour. They do all kinds of experiments. They give them shots, they poke them, they cut them, they do all kinds of things, then wipe out their memory and send them back. Only after several months of some psychological problems do they end up going to a psychiatrist. And the psychiatrist, on trying to find out what the problem is, in the use of hypnosis, finds out that this person has been abducted.
What's the reason for that? What are they trying to learn?
There's three things that they're trying to do with these abductions. The first thing is they're trying to monitor us. It started in the early 40s, and they put a little unit, a very small BB-type object, way up in the backside of the brain, and they'd leave it there for about 18 years. They'd pick them up and put it in about 4 years old. At 12 years old, they would pick them up and monitor it. Then about 18, they'd take it out. The second thing they did is they put a post-hypnotic suggestion. According to many of the people that have been hypnotized, and we found out what they've told them. Apparently, within the next 2 to 5 years, there's going to be a big event. Something enormous is going to happen. And these people who have been abducted, and there's probably over 100,000 of them, have been given some place to go and something to do. But under our best hypnotic techniques, we cannot find out what it is.
So how do we know that that's true?
Because they said
You can just tell that George Knapp's not buying it.
they're going to do something. They know that they're going to do something, but they, under the hypnosis, they can't find out exactly what it is. And the third thing that they do is genetic experiments. They've been crossbreeding. There's a very good book out now called Intruders, written by Bud Hopkins, and it's about a crossbreeding experiment with a girl in Indianapolis. And they actually, the big head, what we call the big head in research, the little 3.5 foot tall with a big head, they crossbreed that with this girl in Indianapolis, and there were 7 children. And just last fall, before the book was published, they brought the oldest and the youngest to show to her, and they let her name all 7. Now, this book has been thoroughly researched by Bud Hopkins, and although it sounds strange, believe me when I tell you, you may not find out in a month, a year, 5 years, or 10 years, but you'll look back at what I'm telling you now, and you'll say to yourself, my gosh, the son of a gun was right.
Well, where's this girl now? She's just living on a farm?
She lives in town, or just outside of town. She just got married. Bud went to her wedding. We all know who she is. She gets along, just fine. It doesn't mean, just because she was abducted and gave children doesn't mean it was the end of the world. It was just a part of her life.
Why don't we see a lot of photographic evidence, as many cameras and video gear? Why don't we see a lot of that?
There are.
Before you go on, I know the pictures that we showed in the beginning of this program, you say they're baloney, they're phonies.
That's right. The pictures you showed at the beginning were called the Myers incident. It's called the visitors from Pleiades. And any ufologist worth his salt knows, and who has researched that case, knows that he cannot back it up with the negatives and the essential information to prove that something like that happened. So we look at that as suspect.
So in other words, you run into your share of phonies as well in your research.
Absolutely. There's not that many, but there are a few out there. There's so many people that have real stories to tell that we're just so busy with those. For instance, let's take the November 17th Japan Airlines incident.
I'll tell you what, we're going to take another break, and we'll do that when we come back. Stay with me. Japanese airline incident, it's probably something that's still in the memory of our viewers.
Yeah, the Japanese airline incident was a cargo 747 that had taken off from Iceland, flying to Anchorage. And as he passed over the United States border and the northern part of Anchorage, he was intercepted by a UFO. One of the most.
Look at the size of this craft here.
I don't think we have that picture, so go ahead.
You can see the size of the 747 to the UFO. Now, the UFO was not brightly lit.
I would have left a little present in my underpants if I'd have seen that out my window on a plane.
Well, whose rendition is this?
This is the captain's. This is from the captain's rendition when he was debriefed by the FAA. Now, certain UFO debunkers have said what he saw was the planet Jupiter. Well, this is an insult to all transport category captains.
You've said before you thought a lot of their intentions were hot.
It's not specifically strategic air command, and they'd come on.
By us?
By us, yeah.
We mentioned at the top.
I can't seem to find that part where he talks about the interview. There's 2 tapes. It could be that one. But I'm not sure. Just check the John Lay on the record with George Knapp. There's 2, 1986, 1987. I'm going to play a clip here from the interview we did with Jon Stewart, and this is me asking him a question about, I think it's about Bill Modis, this little segment here before we wrap it up.
I recreated this film and put it out to show you. I couldn't show you the real one because I would be arrested for classified documents. But we recreated it, so we're great guys. Let us go. Forget about the money we laundered and the people we might have murdered. We did try and tell you. So I am not, what's going to hurt my feelings if I'm told I find out the government did this, which is a real outside possibility. And I hope people appreciate that.
That's the only thing I'd say, John. That I believe this tape, and I think if it is a fake, it's a military-made one. It has to be, and it's probably a recreation of something that actually happened. And that's what leads me to say that I think if it is a fake, it has to have been Bill Moore that released it, because there's letters that says that he was in possession of these tapes and he actually did a recreation. And I tried to get it up with Thingy. We wanted to show you this. I don't know if I've sent it you in an email in the past, but it's fascinating, and I think there's a connection with Bill Moore and this tape.
Well, it's interesting. Let me go really deep here. Bill Moore is so entwined and neck deep in all of the ufology that I wouldn't be surprised. But can I tell you, the DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, this is the three-letter agency, ladies and gentlemen, that's running the umbrella on all things extraterrestrial acquisition, retention, examination, you name it. They're the top, and it pyramids down from them. From a DIA memo, they say that Joseph Yeager was the person to help disseminate this to Victor and Victor to Rocket Pictures. Joseph Yeager, we finally found out after 9 months, was a State Department employee. He worked for the DIA. He was disgruntled. And Rick Doty also says that he believes Yeager was part of, after the cameraman took this off of Area 51, of disseminating it and getting Victor to sell it to Rocket Pictures. However, to find out that Bill Moore is part and parcel with this, oh my God, wouldn't surprise me at all. Would not surprise me at all.
What did you make of the? You've seen the John Lear interview with George Knapp, 1987, where John Lear actually mentions it. He mentions it 10 years before it's released. So there's something.
Thank you.
There's something. If people investigate, there's something there. Yeah. And there's a letter there by John Lear to someone called Stevens. He's agreeing with me, right? He's agreeing with. I think I probably know more about the tape than he does, because I did my own deep dive. But I really do like John Stewart. I like his energy. I like his passion. I think he's onto something. A lot of the information he speaks about, I'm fully on board with. I just don't think. I disagree with him on who Victor is. I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, so what? It doesn't. My opinion of John Stewart doesn't change just because I disagree with him on something. I think he's a very nice bloke, just after the truth, doesn't care, and we need that kind of energy in this field. And this interview, the full interview, is on my YouTube, and I will link it in the description as well. So you can go and watch that if you've not seen it. It was live streamed this, along with the Jason Sands one we did, and the Lenville Logan one, and the Richard Doty one we did live. I'm hoping that I might be able to do the Simon Holland one live as well. I think that'll be a good thing. If not, it'll be up immediately soon after I've spoken to him. And if there's any questions you want me to ask Simon Holland, please send me an email, ufosaroundtheworldbrand@gmail.com, or just send me a DM on TikTok. Just put questions for Simon Holland, or just leave a comment in this video. Where this is where I get into Bill Moore. That there's this tape coming out. Now, it came out 10 years later, but the fact that it was spoke about 10 years before, and they described it, and then it comes out, it's got to have been deliberately made by the military because of the cost of it. It would make sense for them to put cost in it because of what they wanted to achieve by throwing this out there. They threw it out in the wrong decade for me. If they'd have thrown it out now, it would have got more bang for its buck, but it got more.
Yeah.
So that's what I'll say on it. I believe the tape. The only way it can be fake, it has to be military for me.
Can I tell you another Can I tell you another bombshell? This is. There's not a skeptic in the world with any intelligence that could possibly refute what I'm going to tell you. The DNI burned on the bottom. Department of Naval Intelligence. I'll give it. Bob Lazar spoke about it years before that video. They could have got the Department of Naval Intelligence from Bob Lazar. No problem. It's the number 27. And it's the big, the middle bird to all the skeptics. When I found out from 4 different intelligence people who were stationed in around S2 Alpha and S4, the security clearance level is called the Yankee White to get into the underground levels of this alien retention facility. And do you freaking know what Yankee White's security level number designation is? Everybody at once? The number 27. How the hell can a 20-something-year-old screenwriter, producer in Hollywood have any idea that the number 27 was the designation Yankee White, and that Yankee White was the security designation, the security code to get inside these programs?
That's an interesting one. It was a fantastic interview, that, by the way. So yeah, I've just wanted to do an hour. I've just hit an hour. That's what I wanted to do tonight. A bit of a deep dive into the interview tape. These will be in the description. The interview tape, the full interview, the John Lear letter to Stephen, the MUFON 1989 conference will be up, the John Lear 1987, and I'll put the 1986 one as well, because I believe it might be the 1986 one that has the part where John Lear speaks about the tape. I'll share a link to the interview that we did with John Stewart, even though it is on my profile anyway. And that'll be it. So thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next one. Good night. God bless.